This is a cat. Friend, enemy, evil, but sometimes good too. For some reason, someone decided to take one of these vile creatures and make it a star of their own game, called the Purring quest. It's a short title, completable in less than an hour, or a little more if you plan on getting the achievements. But for as quick as you can get through it, it's still a fun little afternoon waster. You play as a cat known as Kimchi, who had adopted as humans as they lived together. But one day the woman dies, and the husband is depressed and just all around down. He goes to leave somewhere, and the cat is a bit confused, so decides to go after him. He also wants to get the amulet back that was dropped and picked up by a bird, due to its sentimental value. All of this is told you in some pretty heartbreaking still shots, and it's really a sad way to get a game like this going. At least that's the motivation to get the little furry guy back to his human. When you start the game up, you get a choice of language, and then an option to choose between a high jump or a double jump. Strange, but okay. I opted to start with the double jump, and then after taking a small break came back and tried the high jump. Before I get into these, let me talk about the gameplay itself. Again, you play as Kimchi, and it's just a simple platformer that you're involved in. The goal is to get to the far right of the screen. That's pretty much it. Half of the stages have bosses, the other two have something else in store for you at the end of the level. In order to get through these stages, you can swipe your paw, drag some items around, and jump. There are also times where you must hide, but more on that later. But that's it. I used an Xbox One controller and it worked fine, although I will say that the controls at times are pretty loose, especially when jumping around. Yet there were other times that they were too stiff, like when barely making a jump, you can't immediately chain another jump from that point right away. It's hard to explain without playing it yourself. So the jumping options. Kimchi has a basic jump at all times, but if you forgot what I said about 30 seconds ago, you can choose between the double jump or high jump. The double jump allows you to press the jump button again when you're in midair for a bit of extra height. The high jump skips that extra step and just gives you that maximum height right away. In fact, even more so, but the length of the jump will take a hit. From what I've played, double jumping is a slightly better option, since you can alter your path a bit more than the high jump. Also, there's one extra thing about the high jump. Instead of just holding the jump key to jump, you also need to hold the left shoulder button to initiate the high jump. I don't know why the developers decided this extra step was necessary. Why couldn't we have both techniques? It's somewhat appropriate that your cat has a swiping attack, since some of the enemies in the game are birds and mice. It's a shame that you don't get to use it often though. Enemies are fairly uncommon, and most of them are going to require a few swipes to defeat them. Not that takes away from the fun of the game though, as just navigating through the stage is enjoyable enough without a bunch of enemies. In fact, I'd even say that the amount you run into feels right. The other main enemy you'll run into is a canine. If they see you, they'll just give chase, and if they catch up to you, instead of tearing the poor cat apart, they'll just bark constantly and send you back to a checkpoint with one less life. There are a few ways of avoiding them. For one, you can hide behind a piece of scenery, which conveniently flashes when you can sneak around them. It's actually surprising that the dog won't sniff your scent. Oh well. You can, if you're good enough, leap over the dog, stunning them for a second while you make a getaway. And finally, if you got it in I think it was the third stage, you can bring out your inner solid snake and make a box randomly appear by pressing Y. In a quirky sense of humor, Schrodinger is written on the side of the box. Again, this isn't used often, but the need will arise at times. Don't think that just running around the level is otherwise safe though. There are plenty of environmental hazards to avoid. Water will spurt out of broken pipes. High power lines will emit a bit of electricity, which somehow doesn't outright kill the poor cat. Shutters will open and close, blocking off or knocking you off of some windowsills. There are also some other things, like spiked gates in the graveyard, that need to be avoided. Another way of navigating the world is to have Kimchi push and pull objects. There are a select few boxes in the game that he can push with his head or pull by biting them. I kinda want to see this in action, so once again, let me test my cat Carson for this. Nah, I don't think it's working this way. Video game logic wins again, I suppose. You may have noticed the fish bones, and this brings me to the collection part of the game. Each stage has 200 fish bones, one caged kitty, and a random memento from a cat. By finding the cats and mementos, they'll appear on the main screen before you choose to start a new game or continue your current one. Not sure if you get a bonus if you find all 1,000 fish bones though, as I'm only missing I think 4 of them, and I'm not too motivated to hunt them down. And yes, if you did the math, there are only 5 stages in the game. Each one, if you don't care about the fish bones or other items, can probably be completed in about 10 minutes. It took me 86 total minutes for everything, minus the missing fish bones, the 1 cat I'm missing, and the 1 item in level 5. Good thing I think I bought this game on a humble bundle a few bucks, right? Again, being short isn't necessarily a bad thing. The game's length does feel appropriate, and anything longer may have felt unnecessarily dragged out. With the brevity of the game, there's plenty of humor to be found. Other cats can be conversed with the one in stage 1 being the greatest, offering to be a sort of a feline philosopher, complete with what a cat probably thinks about. Plus, you get bombarded by a bunch of pigeon crap halfway through level 3. That's always pleasant. And that's not all for the humor. There's little details here and there to help make the sad story a bit more upbeat, such as this drawing on the wall. I'm pretty sure my cat agrees with this. And no, I'm not going to scratch his ass so that he claws the hell out of me on camera. The graphics as a whole are pretty decent. Everything is fairly crisp, with the sprites having enough detail to make them stand out. What's more impressive is the great animation, especially with Kimchi. It shows that a lot of time and effort was put into making the playable cat more believable. The music is also fairly well done. Some of it loops a bit too quickly for my liking, but overall, it's enjoyable. The only exception to this is the god-awful ending theme. Did we seriously need a horribly done cat chorus? Pretty sure even the crazy cat ladies out there don't listen to this crap. Only a couple more things I want to mention before I wrap this review up. For one, the bosses are somewhat varied in the game. 2 of them are boss battles, but the other 3 are a bit different. One is a climb up a massive building, avoiding birds and their droppings. The final stage is, for some reason, a race against a helicopter searchlight. Finally, the ending of the 4th level forces you to play piano in a Guitar Hero / Rock Band-ish trial. It's easy enough to get the hang of, but it does feel a bit out of place. The only thing left is the fact that you only get 7 lives. Why not 9? And lives are really not necessary in this game. When losing one by any enemy, you take damage more than lose a life, which amounts to be the same thing in this game. If you fall down a pit, fall down too far, or get caught by a dog, you just lose a life and start back at the checkpoint. If you lose all of your lives, again, you just go back to the checkpoint. I feel the checkpoint system with just plain infinite lives would have worked. Or maybe a life bar for enemies and instant kills for dogs and pits. Oh well, this system in place works, I suppose. And that's it for the Purring quest. It's a fun little afternoon killer. You won't get a ton of replay value from it, but while it's running, it's definitely going to keep you engaged. I can't say it's worth the $10 standard price, but considering I've seen it on sale recently on Steam for $2, I'd recommend it for that. And does the kitty approve? He approves of nothing. He's a cat. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.